Hello my friends and welcome back to my channel and welcome to the Sunday Mish-Mash. This is one of the most fun videos that I get to make each and every week. And I just get to talk about whatever happens to be on my mind in addition to what I've been reading and have finished in the last week. So we're going to start with that. With what I've finished, what I've read this past week, my update on the 100 Book Challenge by Criminali and where I'm standing on that. So we'll start with, I finished 3 books in the last week. The first one I finished was Starship Troopers by Robert Heinlein. This is on the top 150 science fiction books that Michael from Fit to Be Read did. And this was my 20th book off of that list I've read. Well, there are others I had read previously, but it's been a while that I'm going to reread them. But the 20th I read in the last year. And it was enjoyable. I didn't mind it as much. I believe the first 70% was very, very different than the last 30%. And I greatly enjoyed the first 70% and enjoyed less the last 30%. And I imagine that the movie, and I've probably seen the movie, but it's been forever. I imagine the movie focuses more on that last 30% where there's actual conflict and war. But the vast majority of it is this guy getting into the school and learning things, and you get to see his personality and all of this development. And I enjoyed that far more than the little bit of conflict at the end. I also read 16 Ways to Defend a Walled City by K.J. Parker. This is one that I'd been meaning to get around to for ages, and finally decided that there's no time like now. I'm going to start reading it, and I read it in its entirety in the last week. The first 50 pages or so, I almost stopped. I did not really jive with the narrator. And eventually it picked up a little bit. I think the author's going for something that reminds me of what John Scalzi does with a lot of the witty humor and the dry sarcasm and things like that. But it's not nearly as well done here. And the thing that kept me going was just the setting and the fascination of that. I know it's a series. I'm probably not going to continue the series. I think I'm okay with just finishing this as a one-off. Yeah, it wasn't a terrible disappointment, but it was not nearly as great as I had hoped it would be. And I'm okay with that because it means that there are other books that I'm able to read and other series I can pick up and continue without having to worry about circling back to this series at some point in time. And then yesterday, on a whim, I was looking at my graphic novel shelf, and there's one that was really, really thin. This is Hero Cat's Midnight Over Stellar City, Volume 2. This is one that I had got last year. I had picked up a comic grab bag mystery box from my local comic store. And it said it would include one graphic novel, and I think it was like 10 issues or something like that of various comics. And so this is the first thing that I read out of that now. And it was enjoyable enough. I didn't dislike it. If you enjoy cats, you'll definitely enjoy this. Hero Cats apparently is a series all on its own, so it references, much like a lot of Marvel comics do, has a little asterisk to let you know when it's referencing something, and it'll tell you what issue to go back and read. And so there were a lot of references to things that happen in Hero Cats. So yeah, an interesting premise. Decent enough artwork. I didn't mind it. So it's about cats being heroic. And having different villains that they have to take down. Human villains that they take down. So a really interesting premise. Probably won't pick up any more of those. But that's just because it's not my personal preference, personal taste. But I am glad that I did read it. Because it was a nice, easy one to knock off. Because there's only 3 issues inside of that. So what I'm currently working my way through. I'm currently working my way through Forever Free by Joe Haldeman. This is the last of the Forever series. I'm about a third of the way into it. I was very happy to see it return to our protagonists from the Forever War. Forever Peace has a different set of characters set in the same kind of world. So I was happy to get back to our main protagonist in that one. I'm enjoying it a lot so far. A really interesting premise, and it'll be curious to see how it develops from there. I've been chipping away at Njal Saga. I'm a decent chunk of the way in there. Really enjoying that. I'm just happy taking my time. Just not forcing a whole bunch of binge reading on it. Sagas are very episodic, very short episodes along the way. Chapters are typically a page or less. Sometimes they can get 2 to 3 pages long. So it makes it a perfect, I'm just going to sit down and read, a dozen chapters and just set it aside for now. And it's telling a multi-generational family saga. So the cast of characters rotates every 20 or so chapters. So really interesting. And then yesterday during my shelf tour, I picked up Levita Nuova by Dante and said, I need to just set this to where I can read it. And as you can see, I've started reading it. I've got probably about 2/3 left of this. Enjoying it so far. It's really interesting because it's Dante telling about moments in his life and then sharing a sonnet that he created about it and then breaking down kind of how the sonnet's divided from there. So it definitely a work on poetry by a poet for poets. You can learn a lot from this, just getting inside his head. I would imagine that Tom from Tom L.A. Books has read this, probably in the original Italian. Obviously, there's a difference because there's translation in there, so I don't get to read it in the original. So I lose something in translation, but that's okay. I've been working my way through a couple more issues out of Conan the Barbarian Epic Collection number 2. This is the Hawks from the Sea. I'm about ready to read The Thing in the Temple next. So I've made some good progress in that. In the last weekish, probably more of like last weekend, I picked up a couple of graphic novels about a week and a half ago from a local library to try them out. I picked up Why the Last Man, which I read the first 2 issues in this one. I don't think I'm going to put this on my I should read this series. It wasn't that it wasn't enjoyable, but not really what I'm looking for, I think, in graphic novels. I read the first issue of Saga and really, really enjoyed it. It cemented that I definitely want to read all of this. And then read the first issue of Monstrous, which I think I talked about last week, but in case I didn't, I wanted to make sure to talk about it now because Monstrous and Saga are both instantly on my I'm going to pick up some volumes of this and give it a thorough read list. So that's what I've been reading. I just got my audiobook hold on Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb, which I don't actually own a copy of, but it's book 2 in the Farseer trilogy. And it's going to feel good to dive back into the world of Farseer, go back to Fitz and his endeavors in his second book. And I haven't read this trilogy since I was probably in my teens. And I read Assassin's Apprentice early last year. So it's been well over a calendar year and just absolutely loved getting back into that. And so I'm excited to dive back into this, especially after how much I enjoyed Live Ship Traders. And then the update to the 100 book challenge. So, counting the books that I've been tallying, I'm sitting at 48 at this point in time. However, I've been keeping a secret because I didn't want people to get discouraged. I've been done for a while, you guys. I've hit the 100, and I've done it with a variety of great books. We've got some nonfiction entries, like the little book of woodland bird songs. I mean, if you ever wanted to know what some of these sound like, you can hear what a chickadee sounds like. It's fantastic. More nonfiction, such as There's No Place Like Space, all about the solar system. We've got book series, such as Elephant and Piggy series, Elephants Cannot Dance by Mo Williams, We Are in a Book, as some examples of that fantastic series. There's a lot of books in that series, and we've read a good number of them. We have a good number of them, not all of them by any means. Some standalone page turners, like I'm reading with Catboy, PJ Masks. Some anthologies, such as the Big Book of Bedtime Stories, which has 8 stories to share in it. Fantastic. We've got classics, like the Lorax by Dr. Seuss. We even have Tolkien. I couldn't get my hands on the copy of it because my wife likes to rotate books in and out, and I think they're buried in a tub in his closet. But John Ronald's Dragons, I think is the title of it. It's a Tolkien picture book about J.R.R. Tolkien and the dragons that he imagined up and how they led to him, inspiring him to write. And then modern classics such as Boy by Phil Cummings and Shane DeVry. Fantastic books. I've been done for a while, you guys. I've hit that 100 mark. So I've been free from this challenge. I've held off on buying books because I wanted to make sure that Greg and Ollie were able to, kind of feel like they were winning. But we're done. We're done. Hands off. Take a bow. It was fun doing the 100 book challenge. It was rewarding. It's been great enjoying my shelves, enjoying my son's shelves, and just having a blast doing it. And so surprise, right? Congratulations, Greg, on officially hitting that 100 mark, and I think Ollie is supposed to hit it sometime in the next week. So congratulations to both of you. I know neither of you have a young child who loves to read to where you can pad those numbers a little bit. As I said, I got to 48 on my own books, and I don't know how soon I'll buy more books yet. I'm enjoying going through my shelves, but there's also no longer that weight hanging over the head of, well, I can't pick this up because I've got to read 50 more books. I think all of us went into it with the best of intentions, and it was a fantastic challenge. And yeah, so it was fun. And yeah, I think that's all I've got to say on that. It's been a heck of a week in the last week with illnesses, and it circled through the whole family, and just I'm ready for the new week to get here and to move on into the new week, and hopefully get some really, really good reading done in my very near future. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and thank you, BookTube.